Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the second in our small series of Beattie Passive seminars. First of all, I'd just like to sort of give you an overview of Beattie Passive. For those of you that didn't catch the first one, which was really just a general overview of what Beattie Passive is about. So today's webinar is going to be about our flying factories and our partnerships, and I think this is at the essence of what we at Beattie Passive are trying to do, and that's share our technology. Beattie Passive is born out of a real desire to lift the standards of building, not just in Passivhaus, which we are, really focus on in our business, but each part of the sort of build process, from design right through to testing. And over the years, when I was first designing the system, I really felt, how are we going to get this out into the industry? How are we going to change many people's lives, and how are we going to narrow the performance gap? So how are we going to design buildings that actually deliver? And that was all part of what I was trying to do when I first came up with the concept. And I think that the flying factory partnerships and the processes that we put behind that will allow many people in the coming years to actually take on the Beattie Passive Mentor and deliver to the highest quality in fire, sound, radon gas, buildability, cost and longevity, and really lift the quality of building is what we're aiming to do. So today's webinar is going to take you through the processes and benefits of Beattie Passive, and then some case studies of the sort of clients that we are working with. And at the end of it, we're going to have, as I say, a question and answer thing where please bring your questions to me. You've got a little a way of doing that on your computer screens, and we'll answer those questions. But this is all online, so if you do want to pick up things and look at some previous case studies and move forward with it, then please contact us afterwards. So when we've got a new technology and we've tested it for about 10 years now, where it's been taken up not just by us, delivering from big bespoke multi-billion pound houses to affordable homes, how are we going to grow that business? How are we going to get partners to actually buy into that processes? And I believe that it's about doing things correctly. It's about being honest, and it's about giving help throughout the process, because building homes is a very difficult process. It's one of the hardest things. The industry has got many challenges. Some of them are logistical. On the majority, it's about people, and it's about mistakes, and those mistakes can be really costly. So getting a building process that we can share our knowledge, we can share our best practices, and we can help you through from day one to the end date when you deliver that process, I believe is a great benefit to the industry, because you've got a friend there that's going to make sure that you do it right. So the Beattie Passive build system really is simple. It takes 13 components, and we put them together in the same way. And what we do is we train you, and then we help you throughout that journey. So we started this sort of flying factory process about 3 years ago. And we've built now across the UK, as you see on the map here, in many different spots. And the stars are our partnerships that we've created over the last 2 years, and they're growing. And these are companies like yourselves that have got DLOs or their own development arms that want to get the benefits of building their own homes. And the benefits are massive. And I'll run through each of those that we feel that we can bring to enhance your businesses. And give you the know-how and the skills to not only just build passive homes, but to build the homes of the future, the zero carbon homes that we'll be so requiring over the coming years, and homes that can change and alter and deliver on an ongoing basis. So we cover most of the country now, and we've got strategic partnerships coming up in North Wales, with partners that we've been working with for a few years now. And we're seeing that interest grow. We're seeing that interest not just from housing associations, but now from developers, now from the people that are really putting their heart and soul into their businesses in that way and wanting to see a good return. And we're seeing the concept from people changing. So the clients that want to buy these homes are now far more aware than they've ever been. So they're actually saying to the buyer, the people they're buying a homes from, why am I building a home that needs heating? Why am I building a home that's not been tested? Why am I buying a home that isn't fit for purpose in some cases? So we're seeing the client some ways leading this across the board. So very interesting market change over the last few years. So being able to build in a system that delivers on all of these and is tried and is tested and certified is going to be a big bonus in the future. So the benefits of having your own flying factory. And when we talk about having a flying factory, it's really about a partnership. It doesn't matter where you build this or in what location you build it. You're going to get the benefits of my last 40 years of experience and the team's, if you like, 200 years of experience combined. But you're also going to get the opportunity to actually manufacture your own homes. Now, normally what happens is you're in this scenario is you have a big factory and those homes come out from a very complex and costly environment. But with Beattie Passive, we've made it very simple. A factory can be a bench in a garden, or it could be a purpose-made big building. And that's what we're here to set you up and give you the opportunity to do. So one of the biggest benefits, I think, is to be able to use your own workforce. Your own DLOs, your own employees that you trust and can work with. Because in that way, you're not really having to be at the beck and call of anybody else, waiting for this to come, going out to tender. You've got that workforce there that you trust, and you can actually get your work done far more economically. The social benefits in that are massive. And when we talk about social benefits, we're talking about the whole range of, the corner shop, to someone being employed that hasn't had a job before. And because Beattie Passive is designed around young people, it's around about a very easy skill set, then realistically we can train up a whole new generation of highly skilled but simple skilled operatives to work on our buildings. So this is a real way of developing your DLO or your workforce to work on your own homes. Because I believe that the old way of doing it with subcontractors and pushing out the risk is now going. We're seeing that we've got a massive shortage in the employment of tradesmen. They're just not coming into the industry. So we need to reinvent that again. And I think having your own factories is a way of doing that. The ability to manage it. You're not waiting on materials, you're not waiting on labour, you don't know what that labour capabilities are. You'll have that all closely managed, and you'll be able to determine the cost as well. You'll know exactly from our spreadsheets that we give you the exact material costs, and by the training you do, you know exactly how much these things actually do cost you with your team to cost. So it's a wonderful way of being sheltered from those costly rises that we go through in tendering. Setting up locally or setting up in a nearby location, massive difference when you've got a factory on site, when you're actually going to be manufacturing 100 yards away, 200 yards away. You can set into the program and you can actually program that factory to open and shut on days when you want materials to site, and then have that team flexible between the two. So you're not waiting for lorries to turn up and cranes to turn up and unloading stuff. You can actually work that through in a very cost-focused way. And also it can be nearby. So a nearby factory, it can be set up for a day or 100 years. There is nothing clever about the Beattie Passive build system, and there's nothing clever about the way that we do the flying factories. It's just common sense, really. Why have a factory 100 miles away when you can have one on site? Why not? Cost effectively, I think that when you're looking at setup and factories, And we all know the story of the LNG massive great big factories. We all know the Ilkley massive great big factories. Okay, they're turning out a volumetric thing, but in the same way, what we'll be doing is making the components for the houses on site or in a nearby place, which is really cost effective. The cost of setting up a bench, a timber bench, a chop saw for B&Q, about £135, and some battery operated drills and some hand tools, that is probably about £1,000. And that could be made anywhere. You know, it doesn't really need a very flash building, but, you know, for some cases that works very well. The reduced in risk. I think risk is a big thing in building, and we found the insurance industry and the warranty industry incredibly volatile. And as we're going through now, we're going through a massive change where we've got a lot of people really concerned in the warranty industry about new ways of building. So with Beattie Passive, we're trying to reduce that risk. We're looking at each part of that. And by building it yourself and being trained yourself and having all the inspections yourself, you're drastically reducing that risk. Because at the end of it, someone's going to come down and look at every single building you've built as a partner with their own IP insurance, and they're going to sign that building off. So they're going to say, I've looked at your building and you built it correctly. What a wonderful thing to think at the end of the day, you've gone back and you know that building's built right and as it should be, instead of just relying on other people and other things. So the risk part of it, I think, is very important to Beattie Passive. And we're looking at across the board, from design right through to testing, of how we reduce that risk for you. And being able to guarantee that you're going to reach Passivhaus. Wow. I mean, you know, many companies and many people have tried it, but we do it regularly every week, and it is very simple. Faster delivery. If you can make it on site and then move it 100 yards, wow, it's a lot faster than actually manufactured miles away and coming in. So you can determine that. You can determine the workforce, and it's fast. It's timber frame. It goes up really fast. Made in the morning, put up in the afternoon. That's how simple it can be. Flexibility, which is another point. Again, if you've got a big factory, you've got rates, you've got lights. If you've got an on-site factory, close the doors, build a section, open it up again. Something we done on site when we was testing the idea, we built 10 houses, closed it up for a month, opened it up again, closed it up again, opened it up again. The same workforce could be in the factory as on the site as well. So again, and a good turnaround of employees to be able to manufacture and able to erect. So a very easily and flexible delivery system. And you use your existing supply chains. So again, the materials are local. There is nothing in the material list that is exotic or different. They're all, you can go and get them from Travis Perkins or Jewson's or your local builders merchants. So having a building system that you're not relying on an overseas delivery or a client to deliver. And if you get a program that comes forward and you need those materials, you need something to build a bit quicker, a trip down to Travis Perkins, next day, start building. It's as simple as that. And it's a massive risk reduction as well. So on-site factories, what do they look like? What can they be? So this is the one we've done at Ravenhill, and we set this up when we were building 50 odd houses there. And it was, in fact, 2 containers and a bit of a roof over the top. And people look at me and say, well, is that really a factory? Yes. It had benches in one side. You can see on the top right there was a chop saw and a bench. But that's the kit. That's the, if you like, the complexity of it. It's a chop saw, cutting bits of timber to the right length. And there's a stop at the other end of that bench, and you put the timber against the stop and you cut them down. It's not rocket science. And then from that point, it then goes on to a bench that's in the middle. One of those units was used for storage, the other one for manufacture and cutting, and in the middle was the erection piece and making the panels. So again, not expensive. Probably the whole thing set up there was under 10,000, buying the units, painting them, putting the benches in, doing the health and safety, doing the lights, a very cheap way of putting an on-site manufacturing process in place. The houses we built out of them, you can see now on the screen, a wide range of different houses. 3-bed terraces, 3-storey, 2-bed, modern and a bit more traditional, but realistically, anything can be built from that sort of facility, if that's what is required. All in panel and all in stick. So you're taking a very simple process with our designs and putting it together on site. This is one of our partners up in North Wales, Creating Enterprise, that have actually rented now a proper factory unit in Anglesey, and they're developing their pipeline of over 100 homes from here. They've got a young workforce of employed, a core of employed guys, and then they're actually getting in work apprentices and trainees to work on all the houses as well. And they see this as a real winner for them to get local employment in Anglesey, where it is deprived, by getting new skill sets into the industry. And so they've invested in this lovely facility of a unit where they can manufacture their 100-odd houses in the future. So what's the training, what's the cost, and what do you get for it? We do our in-house training, and I'm going to go through each of these in stages, but just a quick one as we're going to go through. And we've got our in-house training, which you do at our manufacturing facility. And then we go and actually help you set up your factory, whatever that may be. And then we do our on-site training. So we're not just showing you it in a classroom place. We're not just supporting you in putting it up. We're then going to give you the support to actually help you build your first units, and then keep supporting you throughout that. And then we've got our experts that come around and monitor and help you with that process as well. So this is a partnership. It's not a one-off figure that you pay and then we let you get on with it. This is going to grow. It's going to grow. Excuse me, lose my voice a bit. It's going to grow into a real partnership where we work together to look at your projects, to look at the way you're going to deliver them, and work together to see how best they can be done and what's right for that site and what's right for you. The in-house training part is a 2-week course. You come and stay in Norfolk, or your 4 guys do, and these are 4 people that have got I would say on-site skills. They may be a bricklayer, they may be a plumber, they may be an electrician or a carpenter. Carpenters are best, of course, is a carpentry-based process. But these are the guys that are going to be the key workers, your guys who are going to be trained to actually deliver. Once they've learned it, once they've done it, and once they've signed off their first properties, then they will be able to go out, and one of those guys could be on one site, another one on their site, because these are the guys that are going to check everything. These are the guys that are going to sign the daily check-off sheets, the work that's been done, the quality it's been done by. And these are the guys that when the Beattie Passive inspector going to come down, are going to want to see on site, are going to want to discuss things with, and going to want to get their signature that they've done it correctly. But we're there to hold their hand, and we're there, and there is all different learning types and skills, and we appreciate that. But throughout what we've done at the moment, we found that everyone works together. And when there's a weak link, there's always someone stronger to bring them forward. So it does really work. So this 2-week course takes the construction from understanding Passivhaus, and they're stuck with me for a morning, and I'm drilling into them the reasons why Beattie Passive is here, and the reasons why we need to deliver higher quality building, and the opportunities for them if they really do buy into this. Because what we found is when people do buy into it and want to learn and want to be part of a new generation of construction, wow, it makes a massive difference. They're then going to go on and learn every single element of the Beattie Passive process. They're going to learn the ground floor, the walls, how to manufacture, how to erect the walls, the radon barriers, the air tightness membranes, and build a house of around 27 square meters. They don't always finish it, but they go through every process of how to build a house together. So that's a really important part of the process. And each bit of it is done in a very open and understanding way. And it's lots of training also on our 3D modeling. So you've got a model of what you're going to build before you actually build it. And you're taught how to understand that model, how to read the model in a real detailed way, and then stand back and say, I'm going to build that today. And wow, I've just built that section of it. So a very, I'd say, on on hands. This is what we're going to build today, and we'll go out and we build it. The next one is setting up your factory. So one of our trainers will come down to you and look at your facility, whether it's a purpose-made building or whether it's an on-site facility like the one in the middle there, or, you know, it doesn't really matter. We're there to set up the processes and to help you make sure that the way you're cutting, the way your machinery is, your health and safety, and those processes that is unknown are all set up for you before you start. So a very simple and effective way of setting up a manufacturing process. We then do 3 weeks on-site training, and that's split over a period of time. So what happens is you will start off, you will get the ground floor, and then we will come in and spend a week with you. And that week will be getting the floor completed, setting up the walls, making sure that you understand the corners and squareness of a building, and getting that building up. And then throughout that stage, we will spend time with you in week trenches to make sure that you can fully deliver. And so far, everybody has. Because the skill set is easy. The guys that come onto it are 100% on board, and the skill set they've got is well above what this process is. So it works really well. And then at the end of it, they all work as a team and are so proud of what they've turned out. It really is amazing. Then we've got our regular technical experts, and when there is an issue, we're on the end of the phone. And because we're using 3D, because we've got the 3D models, we can actually really well communicate with those guys on site. And because there is only 13 components, they all go together the same way. We only use those components. It's really a lot of common sense that goes into it. So we don't have many issues, but when we do get one, we're there to help. And, you know, if we've got a very complicated roof structure or something, then we will send one of our people down to help you. So it is a partnership, and we are there to help. But the experts are, have done it all before, and they're at the end of a telephone, or they're on site when you need them. So the responsibilities really are us in our 6-week training program. But then every home that you buy is designed by the Beattie Passive process. So when you come onto the Beattie Passive and have a drawing that goes through our design system, we do the, as I say, we do the SAP, EPC, foundation design, we do the PHPP, we do the 3D modeling, we do all the technical drawings, we do all the testing in that model. So that goes on each of your projects, whatever you build it, whenever you do them, you're part of that process. And as we go through that, then technical issues come up, and we work with you to overcome those technical issues and make sure that the building is right so you can erect it, but keeping to our Beattie Passive standard. And at the end of that, once you've delivered that building and all the certification's been done, all the testing's been done, then we will give you certification for that project. And you have a certification signed by me that says that that design has reached that standard. And it's an exacting standard. You know, it's probably the best in the world. For every other bit we do, we're not about focusing on one thing. Your fire is 4 hours, and your sound is 5-6 times better than building regs. You know, just 2 little elements like that make us stand out. So you've got to train your team. You know, you've got to send those guys on the course, and you've got to pick them for the longevity they're going to be with you, their skill set, and I think the ability that wants to learn and want to do it. And then you'll go and manufacture those properties and erect them. And you've got to buy into that as well. You know, we need to work as a team to be able to do that. But it's not rocket science, and no one yet has had an issue with it at all. The process itself is really self-explanatory. Your architects and yourselves will come up with the drawings. We'll put that into our 3D modelling. We will blow that apart into stick or panel, whatever's the best way to show you. We then give you all the cutting lists and details, design sections, foundation designs, etc. And then you will go into your factory and you manufacture that. And then you will go on site and erect that for yourself or for your clients. And then we will come along and do all the testing processes. So that's quite a simple process that is the same for everything, really. And it's about, again, a simplicity of the building system. Some of our current clients, you know, across the UK, and there's many more coming. Every day we get interest, and it is a change. It is a change that is going to take time. People said to me, "Well, crikey, Ron, you've been here 10 years. You know, how long does it take? Christ, how long does it take? How long does it take till we wake up to climate change? Would we have known we've been in this situation as we are today?" So, change takes time, but the industry needs to move forward, and we need to find new ways of delivering better and more zero carbon homes. And we believe Beattie Passive is one of those opportunities. Toolshed, one of our partners, and these are little case studies we're going to go through. A wonderful group of youngsters came on the course, one of our early, been probably with us for 2 years now. And they are a group, Toolshed is a company that looks at young people, ones that have been disadvantaged. Some of them have been into care. Some of them have had problems with the police. But they're all looking for something. They're all a bit of tearaways. And this group of youngsters came down to our training facility. And I can remember it now, there was a group of them, they came in and they all sort of slumped around, and there was a trainer with them. He didn't know them all very well. They hadn't long started, but they were all a bit of a, I say, terror. There was a young lady there, and she had more piercings in her ears and her nose than I could probably count. God knows where else they were. But she was a real character, and she piped up about everything. She piped up because it was too hot. She piped up because she didn't know whether she'd like the lunch. She was just one of those characters. And she'd done the course, and they went through it. And now they've built, I think they built 8 or 10 passive houses. They've got 4 projects of their own now that they're building with Beattie Passive in just outside London, across the north of London. And they're absolutely phenomenal. And when you go and see these youngsters from what they were to where they are now, they are building the best quality homes in the UK. And Christ, are they proud. And when you see that young lady now, we took a group of people round from Graven Hill in a tour bus that came down. And she ran to that tour bus and she got on it and she told everyone how fantastic these houses were and how fantastic it was that she was now building them. And one of the things she says is that I used to go out, I used to go down to the pub, I used to get drunk, I used to do a bit of drugs, a bit of thieving. She said, but now I build passive houses. And she said it's changed her life, and the real respect and pride they've got is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And if we can do that, if we can change people's lives by doing this, it's better than anything. It's and I always say that building a home is one thing, but it's how it's built and the benefits of it can go on forever. And I hope that these I'm sure they will. They just trained actually their next 4 young people on the course. So, they've got 4 people there that will go out and train another 4 sites and then another 4. So their business is growing, and it's a real success story and a real tribute to these youngsters. Fantastic. And then we've got Creating Enterprise down in North Wales, up in North Wales. They're doing a fantastic job again. Got a very young workforce, but real pride, and are going to be a real strategic partner for Beattie Passive going forward. And I've got a lot of respect for this organisation, Catrifi Conway, that really are passionate about young people, about the residents, and want to do things correctly. And it's a real for me, it's fantastic when I walk through these sites and I speak to these people and the pride and the delivery. And this one here is next to a primary school. And one of the chaps, when I went there, was like, Ron, I'm seeing for I said, these houses, he said, I don't understand them. And I said, well, why is that? He said, well, the school there, he said, it's really noisy. All the kids are running around. And then he came over and he just shut the window and you hear nothing. He said, I don't understand how it works. And it works because the buildings are really insulated with really good acoustics. But that's just one thing. But the pride again was phenomenal. And then we've got Reigate Housing Association, and this group are sort of working towards a whole new apprenticeship scheme for 400 trainees. They're looking at one site of 100 units. Completely rethinking the book. How do we now take our housing in-house? How do we deliver the housing with the people that are actually going to live in them? What's going to change all these youngsters' career in our area, and what's going to ultimately pay for these houses when people rent them? So a real long-term thinking here, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that. I hope we will in the future. So hats off to them. And in Newid, a company up in Cardiff, where they've been really interested in working in the prison services. So all the components, well, majority of the components have been built in Park Prison. And Beattie Passive is very much connected with how we work with prisoners and how we don't want to stop recycling £15 billion a year of money that just goes back to putting people back in prison and causes all that heartache that we all go through if we're unlucky enough to be broken into or damaged in any way. So a great little company, really interested in delivering Beattie Passive homes. So a great company to keep your eye out for up in Cardiff. And those were just 4 examples. And if you want to go on the website and see the case studies, please do. We've got some testimonials here from people that have been on the course. Just a few seconds of chat, just all different skill sets that just tell you that it is easy, it is simple, and really then to I suppose get rid of the myths that building homes it needs to be difficult. It doesn't, because you've got a partnership here that could work really well. So please go on to the YouTube channels and look on the testimonials, and you'll be able to listen to these guys. So that was quicker today. We're going to have a question and answer now. I'm sure that some of you may have some questions for me, and we're very happy to take you to certain sites, to give you the opportunity to speak to partners. We're going to do this together. It's not easy. What the industry is going to need, and certainly after the issues that we are at the moment, is we're going to need something different. We're going to need real belief in what we can turn out. We need to change people's lives, and we need to do it together. So I think we're in a phenomenal opportunity coming out of this year to really make a mark. I think government's going to do its bit. I think they're going to do their bit to allow people to take this sort of thing on, to give them the means to be able to build their own homes. And we've seen that with the right to build, with the Bacon Bill, with people building their own homes. We're going to see that a lot more in custom build and that type of thing going forward. So I'll take any questions if you've got any.
Right, thank you, Ron. I'll work through. We've got quite a few here, so we'll work our way through. So the first one is from Jacob. Can we set up in an existing building we already own? Yes, absolutely.
As I say, any premises. I built the first home for my garage. Didn't work very well with the car going in, but yeah, any building, existing building is absolutely fine. What you're going to need really is room to be able to take that material in and store it before it goes out. But realistically, any building is acceptable.
Okay, and a question from Sue. Can we move a flying factory to a different site if we need to?
Yeah, totally again. So if you're looking at being a flying factory move, then the containers work really well. You can lock up and securely lock up all your tools at night. You can have a small power pack there. You can then pick that up and transport that to the next site. So all you're actually doing then is working with that workplace. And that could build 5 homes here, 10 homes there, 20 homes there. Absolutely. And that's what this is about. This is about being able to be so flexible and being able to transfer that manufacturing unit and health and safety unit, where we done it in Wolf, we had a canteen, toilet facility and a power facility all in one. And then we had the 2 units. So it's a very simple, put together, a plug-in approach to it.
Okay, the next question is, can we train more than 4 people?
Yeah, I mean, 4 is our maximum on the training course. And we say that because the one-to-one thing, one-to-one. So, 4 is what we take as maximum, because we want to get those people to have the real in-depth. And if we got too many, then we have to spread it apart. But if you want to do 4, then another 4, that's absolutely right. But we would always say start with 4, because what we're looking here is that those 4 people can have 10 labourers with them. And then what we do is that one who's been trained can then go off and do his own site with another 5 people, and they're going to be trained. But we need that one guy on site who's been through the course, who's done the training, who's going to sign off the checklist, who's responsible for that build, to be on that site all the time. So I would say a minimum of 4, which you can do a lot of work with 4 people. We've got the rest of the team around them to grow the business. And then as you need to do more, like Toolshed have, you then train some more people going forward.
Okay, thank you. A question from Derek. When would you use a stick system versus a panel system?
Okay, the stick system is I would say, the simplest way to build. But you're building in long lengths. You can build into long lengths, and there's more of them to put up. And so it's a bit more difficult and a bit more testing in getting everything lined and straight through. If you've got a panel and you've made that nice and square, you're just putting panel against panel against panel. So you're reducing the number of units that actually go onto that site. Not much, there's no difference in the quality, there's no difference in the performance. Some things about the site, if the site's quite restrained to get into, stick built's probably the best. Where if you've got a bit more room, you can make the panels and go up, and they go up a bit faster because you can stick up four panels together in 20 minutes, where you're putting the sticks and try to hold them up and make them straight. So it's a longer on-site delivery process up against a faster connect process. Both deliver the same, and we've found that really you've got to try them. What's right for one hasn't been right for the other. And some think, oh, stick's fantastic, and I think, oh, panel's fantastic. So it really is a choice, but it doesn't matter to the performance. And we train you in both. So, you know, we will train you in the stick and the panel, and then you will choose what you want.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is from Neil. How are windows and doors sourced, and to what standard?
Okay. Now, the windows and doors are all Passivhaus standard. Now, when we say that, they don't need to be certified by the Institute anymore, but they need to have all the right PSI values. So basically, they're saying that they've been pressurized, they've been tested, they need to be below 0.78 or 0.78 and below. They need to have the right gaskets, and most of the windows now that are up to that standard are certified. So that makes a big difference to the envelope performance, of course. And so we want, and we will always stipulate that that sort of window should be used. And most of the manufacturers now do make that type of window because the industry is crying out for it. You know, it's a very important process and part of a home. So it's something not to be skimped at. But the prices now are coming down, and I think the bling's gone off of the Passivhaus window sector.
Thank you. The next question is from Vicky. How are you prioritising sustainable materials in your construction?
Okay, right at the top, if I'm absolutely right, but it's really what you talk about sustainable. I think that buildings have got to be completely reusable. I don't want any part of my building to have to go to a rubbish tip in its end of its life. So our buildings, when I designed it, all the materials are totally reusable. That means that when you've got a home that in 100 or 200 years' time, people want to knock down, they can then make a garage out of it. They can then make another home out of it. The first house we built was in a test building factory. We made it, we completed it, we got all our certifications and patents, and then we took it down. And we actually then turned it into a double-story extension for one of our retrofits. And we used everything back again. So every part of that went back into a new home. That's really sustainable. The timber we use is FSA. All the materials are chosen because they don't affect the ozone layer. The insulation is chosen because it won't be affected by moisture. Because if you really want to be something sustainable, you want it to last forever. So if you use wool, or if you use cellulose, or if you use lots of other, if they get wet, and they will get wet over their lifetime, they're ruined and you can throw them away. But with the materials that we use, they're totally reusable. They won't absorb moisture. They won't suffer in any way, and they'll be there for hundreds of years. And I think that's where we've really got to judge sustainability. It's not just about where it's come from. It's about its longevity and its use and its reuse, afterlife use. And we're just doing a piece of work now on the whole lifetime CO2 and the embedded CO2 of Beattie Passive, and that will be online very soon for you all to view. And it makes very good reading. We're very, very keen on this aspect of Beattie Passive. So, you know, we are very, I think, green conscious, and we want to build more sustainably whenever we can.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Robert. He said, an issue over the years has been as designed against as built performance in terms of energy efficiency. Do you have figures to show actual performance of homes that have been built under your system against expected performance?
Yes, we do. I mean, Well, it's very difficult to know how you actually judge that. And what we're doing going forward in our new volumetric factory is every building will have diagnostic equipment into it. So we're working on a piece of work now where we go out and buildings will have sensors in the walls. They'll have sensors and being able to actually physically show how those buildings are working. All we can say to you is that we've got clients living in the 350 homes. We've got clients that have fed back information to you, and it's very difficult. Nothing's ever perfect. You know, people want to live at different temperatures. People open doors and windows. But I would say on the whole, when you've got clients coming back to you and saying, I live in a 200 square metre home and my heating cost for my hot water, my cooking and my heating is £4.25 a week, I think we cracked it. When I've got a 8,000 square foot home and the client saying to me that it's costing him £125 a year, yes, he's got a few PVs, but nevertheless, I mean, that's incredible working homes. And you look at that just thermally. But if you look at the ones that we got one house which was hit with lightning and it stood it didn't burn, it had a direct hit. That's what performance is about. As I say, every building is designed around lots of different parts that should be designed and built the same. It never is. And nothing is perfect. And so what we believe is that you have to test at the right time. We do thermal image every building. We do sound test every building. We do air test every building. And we do structurally check every building. And those are the things that make the difference in the Beattie Passive home. And if you look a lot in the industry and you go to, I think, 99.999% of the industry and say, do you check your buildings when they're completed? It'll be quiet. No one does. But why not? You know, and government have asked me, what would I do to change the industry? And I said, well, let's thermal image every single building that's built. Let's make these inspections sound on every single one of them. Let's make sure we want buildings that are built to this standard. Eventually it'll happen. Because what we need us to do it. And then as we do it, other people will follow. So don't be frightened to take those first steps and say, well, we're doing it. And we won't always be right. We won't always get it perfect because we rely on other people. And there's no way that I can stay here and say that I can say that every single building's right. But all I can say is we're trying to get every single building right. I think that's the important part.
Okay, Ian's asked a question about acoustics. So can you expand further on how the Beattie Passive homes are 5 to 6 times better than building regulations and how is that achieved? Okay, so when I designed the system, we were all looking at the way that buildings work and the transmission between walls. And if you're using a solid brickwork wall, you'll take a block, you'll render that block or you'll dot and dab it, and then you create an airspace and you do the same. And what you'll get is any noise that goes through here, goes through the block and then hits the air gap, which is going to help the reduction in noise, and then it goes back through the other side. And we try to have as less thermal bridges, which means ties across those. And when we get brickwork, we get ties, which gets noise across. So I thought to myself, very simple. Because I'm building with one timber that is only got 4 bits of ply connecting it across, I've got gap. So I'm not just getting a gap on one element of it. I've got a 2-inch timber, a big gap, 220 mil, another 2-inch timber, and then the board that I use is acoustic. So basically I've got a 9mm acoustic board, I've got a 9mm acoustic board that's our racking strength, and that is a 40 dB sound board, really good board. And then I've got a 25mm gap with nothing in it, totally no ties, independent building. And then I've got the same on the other side. So if I build to that standard, and then I've also got a sound fire quilt in this side and in that side, I can get to those phenomenal sound deafening numbers of 52 to 57 dB, 6 times better than building regs. And because we test every single building, I don't believe that it'll always be the same. I believe someone will put a 6-inch now and join the two together and forget to pull it out. So that's why we test every single building, and everyone we've tested so far has been up there. We had one recently that wasn't as good. It was 52 dB. And I went back to the engineers that done it,
And we explained to me the reason why, because in fact the houses were very small. They had 2 windows next to each other on the flanking wall, and the sound was going round, and the machinery wasn't up to be able to tell the difference. Fine, understand, nothing's ever perfect. And I could put that into my report when I'd done the report to the client of why they hadn't reached that. And it wasn't their fault. The guy said, these are brilliant given the situation. So that's how we get there. But we never expect it to happen. We test every one of them.
Okay, thank you. A question from Peter. At what point does air tightness happen? Do you use a test fan during erection?
Okay. We use 1 membrane, 1 tape. I don't like to use mastics at all, and we don't train with mastics. And realistically, the best time to test is when you've got it all open. When you can get to 99% of that membrane, because it's really difficult to make sure that you've lapped and you've taped every bit of it. But it's not difficult that when you're testing and you find you haven't, to do a smoke test, find that bit and then retape it. So always expect that it ain't going to fail, ain't going to pass. And then test at the time when you can make it right before you cover it all in. So we do a test. One of our independent testers will come in, and he's got tape with him, and he's got time to spend with you, if realistically, to say, if you've got a gap here or a gap there, or you've got a difficult detail around a floor, he's there to make sure that you've done that correctly. And he will test it and get it below 0.6. And all our properties get below 0.6. Really do. It's really simple. Because we're not trying to join different materials together. 1 membrane, 1 tape. It's not rocket science. When you look at the way that air tightness has been done, where we're trying to do timber and this and join this and that and take it round things, it's too complicated. So simplicity again, and it works.
Okay, question from Elaine. What structural insurers back the system? NHBC, Checkmate, etc.
Yeah, I mean, Checkmate are our preferred one at present. LABC, we work with many of the ones we do. We do find that it is a dinosaur industry. It's about change. We've built incorrectly, I think, forever. If you look at the way that we build a timber frame building, we put a slab, then we put a bit of DPM on, and then we put a sole plate on the floor. Moisture gets into that wall, goes down, and where does that moisture go to? It doesn't. It rots the sole plate. So we've got a void under every building because we know buildings are going to rot or get wet, and so that actually runs through. And none of our materials will absorb moisture, and it's all open cell construction. So when I designed the system, it's all about what happens when it fails, because it's going to fail. We're going to knock holes in them. We're going to change them. We're going to move them. What happens then? Being expected that it doesn't, but we need to change the industry, and we're finding that. I mean, Checkmate is a great bunch of guys. LABC, Premier, a lot of the big ones like Premier and HBC want things done in a certain way. So what they say is that you've got to make all your studs in to BS 2400 or whatever these things are. And I say no, because all I'm going to do is you're going to send someone down once a month to look at my factory and say, yeah, that's good. But what happens when you go out the door? What happens to all the hundreds and thousands that we're going to make in between time? So why don't we have an independent inspector go to site and review everything and look at it and say, we don't want to buy an insurance that's going to go for when it goes wrong. Why do we want an insurance for? We want to know that it's built correctly when it's built. That's the key to it. That's the change. Their business is under threat in some ways, I think, maybe not, but the risk is reduced for them because the first person they're going to go back to and say, look, your name's on that, you signed that off. If he didn't sign it off, or he didn't check it, then he's at fault. So making things more transparent, making things more simpler is the way forward. And there's many of the warranty people that can see that and want to be part of the Beattie Passive process. And I think that's only a growing movement across it. And the more that we do, and I say we are doing more, the more the market share we have, the stronger our voice will be for making things right and not relying on somebody to come down one day on a Monday and then come down 2 weeks later and look at it. But to have every part of it monitored and tested.
Okay, thank you. Just another question from Al. Do you use MVHR? And I take it all the components like the MVHR system need to be Passivhaus certified.
Yes, I mean MVHR is a very important part of Passivhaus, and yes, it does need to be certified. If it's not certified, then in the PHPP we have to reduce it, I think, by 11% and its performance. So majority of manufacturers now do PHPP certified units, and we're building to Passivhaus. So we want to reuse the energy that we've created in those rooms, and we want to be able to do that. So yes, you know, certified MVHR is important, and also that we use it, of course, because otherwise it's making it a bit of a mockery.
Okay, thank you. Another question from Tavis was, generally speaking, how would you say the capital costs stack up between the cost of building Passivhaus versus conventional building regs?
Okay, so we're just doing a piece of work now with a company of cost consultants, and I think it varies. I think that there is cost is driven by so many different factors. It's about supply. You go out to tender and you'll get someone who wants to work on someone who's busy. You'll get difficult jobs that cost more money. So what is building cost? And whenever someone asks me, what do you build at? Well, what do you build at? You know, what is the cost of building? Now we know that we're building for about £1,600 a metre. Right, Oxford, £1,600 a metre? Bloody brilliant. North Wales, probably very expensive. But of course the materials and the cost of labour will be different in North Wales than it is in Oxford. So I think we're comparable. And what we're finding with what's coming back at the moment is that, in fact, we're becoming slightly cheaper. How can building Passivhaus with all those benefits of building Beattie Passive be cheaper? Wow, we haven't got the very expensive bricklayers required, ground workers required. We haven't got all the technical information that you need to go out and get from architects because it's all built in. We're going to guarantee your performance, so you've got the risk factor is different. In fact, Beattie Passive is cheaper to build if you look at everything in a whole than it is to build traditional build. And that's a phenomenal, exciting process, because once you're cheaper, the barriers just disappear. Why wouldn't you do it? No heating costs for your clients, houses that are tested, faster to put up, healthier buildings to live in, and they're cheaper. So we are getting to that stage, and that's the projection that I believe that we'll be on.
Yeah, thank you. Just got 5 minutes left now, so just a couple more questions. One from Vicky, which is, when designing the house, are there any dimensional constraints that should be considered to limit material waste?
Not in so much as material waste. I mean, our walls are 344 metres structural thickness, and then you've got your external finishes on top of that. So you've really got to look at, you know, the site and the restraints on site. On our flats, we are higher. And I think that's one of the things that I'm, again, come back to quality. At the moment, what we do in Beattie Passive is we build a separate box on top of a separate box. That means that box insulated, it's soundproof, it's airtight, it doesn't not affected by the person up above going out, having parties, running the bath and flooding the building because one is insulated and thermal and flood-proof than the other. So it's far, far, far better. But you've got a 630 mil, I think, floor to ceiling height. So you're going to go up. But the benefits of it are massive. So I think that that's the only real restraints that you're going to do. But again, if you come on early in the process, most planning departments are seeing the benefit of building to this standard. And that, you know, if it is a bit another foot higher or 2-3 foot higher or wider, then, you know, the benefits you're getting from the environment, you're telling me, you know, it does make it stacks up as an argument.
Okay, another question we have is around sort of future pipeline of work. So the person said, I don't have a pipeline of houses to build now, apart from the first scheme. Can I still become a partner?
Right, on that level, then there's a self-build scenario. So you can come on course, we do a self-build course for people that are going to build their own homes. So in that, you could come on a course and you'll be coming on with other people on that self-build course, learning to build the Beattie Passive system and then going on and build that one. And then you can upgrade that to become further up the sort of chain of delivery. So that's probably your first point of call. So you can come on, train yourself, be on that job, deliver that job, and then go on from there.
Okay, and someone else did ask, sort of connected, about the minimum size of development that makes it worthwhile having a factory. I'll just add in here myself that I know that when we've looked at it before, we've generally said that schemes, you know, starting you're looking at schemes of sort of 15 to 20 over the lifetime, then makes it cost effective. So if you're looking for a number of small schemes that add up into that region of 15 homes, that's when it starts to become a cost-effective solution of having your own factory, and that's where you suddenly see the considerable savings going on. And as Ron mentioned, a lot of us, you know, partners are now getting up to 50, 100 units, so they're saving money all the time through having a flying factory.
I think it all depends again on the cost of what you're going to put in, whether you're going to rent a building, whether you're going to put it on site. And I think that cost is probably coming down now, because if you're going to do 3 or 4 units and the cost of building Beattie Passive is cheaper, we're starting to see that rocket down. So I would say that probably 10 units is the ideal amount to start with on site, and have 2 sites for 5 would be fine again, that sort of thing.
Okay, another question is, do we get a recommended buying list of the tools we need to create a flying factory?
Yeah, we do. We give you a full list of all the materials you need, the tools you need, and then there's a full documents of everything, and each step of how you make it as well. So even squaring the timber off and drawing lines is in that process. It's a real handheld-in operation, and you will come out of it feeling that you've, you know, for what it costs, to be honest with you, the technology and the partnering process you get going forward, it's absolutely massive.